Is your mouth really dry after that coffee?
Yeah, and I'm still drinking it, so.
Yeah.
Well, hello, you guys. Welcome back to our channel.
Welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you. Good.
If you're new here, I'm Tori. This is my husband, Chad. And if you click the video, you know we're talking about all things
dating
but
today. Let me catch you up with why we chose to do this video, and now what it's going to be is a whole series.
Yeah.
Tori and I posted a video recreating our first ever date, and then I put a little pinned comment in there that says, hey, share your funny stories if you have any funny first date stories. And there was a lot of people that shared that they had never been on a date before.
Yeah.
And I was really interested in that. And then Tori and I made an Instagram poll to say, hey, have you been on a first date before? And the majority of people have not. And so we're like, wow, this could actually be a really fun and hopefully insightful video series to do on dating.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna build this whole thing out, but this first video is just gonna be a Q&A as we kind of like feel out what kind of questions you all may have around dating.
And y'all sent in hundreds of fire questions. So we're gonna get through as many as we can on this video, but we're also going to continue the conversation over on our podcast, the Messy Masterpiece Podcast, on Saturday. So stay tuned for that.
And if you're new to our channel, just want to give you a quick little disclaimer. Tori and I do answer our questions from a Christian perspective, but we do feel like the reasoning behind our answers will be fruitful for anybody, wherever you are in life, in dating.
Let's just hop on into it, baby.
Oh, I do have one more disclaimer. We're also answering from our own perspective and situation, where you may be in a totally different situation in life. And so some of the questions, it's hard for us to give advice without knowing more of the situation.
Yeah, the context.
And we'll share more on that, but we want you to know that as you listen, apply what we're saying to your specific situation.
Yes.
And now we're gonna jump in. Like now. You want me to go first or you first?
You can go first.
Coming out swinging right now. All right. How to not make the first kiss awkward. How to make the first kiss not awkward. However you want to say that. That was awkward. How to not do that.
I feel like you just gotta embrace it, and if it's awkward, like, it's awkward. If it's right and you keep dating, it gets better with time. You know what I mean? My
advice is, for that specific question around kissing, is less is more.
Less is definitely more.
Less is more.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, imagine you're dating someone and you have your first holiday season, or specifically Christmas.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go all out and buy them a car? Probably not. Maybe start with a t-shirt. And so maybe start with a kiss version of the t-shirt. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Start small.
Like sweet and small. And why don't you just let it stay there until you get married? Yeah.
One of our favorite parts about being in a committed relationship is that you embrace the awkward moments and you grow from it and you talk about it. You don't need to perform. You don't need to be the best kisser. You don't need to do everything right, because that person loves you regardless.
Laugh it off.
Yeah, have fun with it.
Yeah.
Next question.
It's just not that serious.
How to approach dating if you've never been on a date and are nervous. Quote, I don't want to scare a guy off because I'm 19 and have no experience.
Okay, so first off, being nervous is okay.
And normal.
And so normal. It means you care about something, and putting yourself out there is never easy. But I will tell you that being confident in who you are and who Christ has called you to be is not only attractive, but it'll help you walk in knowing that, hey, if this person doesn't like me, at least I know that I'm walking in who I'm supposed to be. The right guy is gonna like me for that person, because you never want to put on this fake front, because what's the point?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and if you like you for you, you won't be as worried if people like you, because you don't need to change yourself to be liked by somebody. And also that second part of that question, which is, I don't want to scare a guy off because I don't have any experience. Well, any guy that you would scare off because of lack of experience, you don't need to be with anyways. So you want to be with a guy who's going to be gentle and patient and kind and understanding and
and find that attractive. You know what I mean? Wow, what a blessing that you're 19, you have no experience. Amazing. Love that God has protected your heart.
Amen.
Yeah.
So this next question we got in such a variety of ways, and we may answer it deeper on another video in the series, but the general question was how to look for a relationship, but at the same time enjoy being single / trusting God's timing.
Yeah. Well, first off, we do have an entire series on singleness. But, you know, I mean, I think you should know that having the desire in your heart for a relationship is from God. Like, it's not a sin to desire relationship. In Genesis, it actually talks about for man was not made to be alone.
He's unfit
to be alone. And so, number one, it's okay to have that desire, but inside of that desire, you can find contentment in being single. But I think the reasoning and your why is so important. And I think the longer you have to yourself to like get to know who you are and your identity in Christ, it's just gonna make you have healthier relationships in the future. And so like embrace the time as a single woman or man and like prepare yourself and run after God and do all the things, because I feel like the longer you do that, the more healthy relationships you'll have in the future. Because if you're looking for someone to complete you, it's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna work because they're not gonna do that. They ain't God. And so the closer you can come to like fully grasping that you are enough with Christ, single, then you'll realize that when you are in a relationship, it's just they complement, you know?
Have you ever seen that motivational speaker? I don't know if you have, but he was like really popular on YouTube. He had this famous quote where he's saying, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. Well, I spy an idol. And if you want to be in a relationship as deeply as you want to breathe, that's when you're going to be making mistakes inside of your singleness as you pursue a relationship. And so I guess my advice would be keep being in a relationship off the pedestal. It does not sit on the throne of your heart. It doesn't control you. You're not better in a relationship and you're not worse outside of one. And so just keep remembering that, and then just be excited. It's kind of like, you know, be excited to add something to your life, but it doesn't make you any better of a person to be in a relationship.
You know that quote everyone says where they're like, the relationship happened as soon as I wasn't looking for it. You know what I mean? I feel like it's because they're not chasing it, you know, like it's like that whole, I'm not like grasping for a relationship, so I settle because I don't want to be lonely, you know, like being content in your singleness doesn't mean you're like completely shut off. It just means that you're confident and you're pursuing what God's called you to do in that time, in that season.
Next one. What's something you've learned that you wish you would have known when y'all started dating? What's something that we've learned?
I wish I would have watched our boundaries and dating video previous to dating.
That's a good one.
I know that's true. I know it's like low-key shout out, but seriously, I wish that we would have had better boundaries and a why behind each boundary. And I think it's really important early on in dating to have clear boundaries established, because
you're gonna answer another question that we have, babies.
Oh, I'm just saying. Baby, what other question?
We have another one that's gonna be exactly what you're gonna say.
Well, what am I gonna say?
Babe, I know you're gonna.
What am I gonna say? You don't know what I'm gonna say.
Next question. She's gonna continue that thought on a question that literally asked her the question she was about, or the answer she was about to say.
Put a little ping in that question.
Bing. When do you know if it's the right time to date? We know who sent this. So anyways,
Sam.
Sam the man. I have a pretty simple answer to this, but you may have something different. It's whenever you feel confident and that you won't cross any boundaries that you have written down, and that you also feel encouraged that you are not walking into a relationship to feel better about yourself, but you're walking into a relationship to grow with somebody and build upon that and serve that person.
First and foremost, I think you need to be very clear on your convictions and the why behind your convictions and your values. That way, when you do walk into a relationship, all of those things are already established, and then you're looking for someone who complements all of those, holds all of those, is running in the same direction as you. And it's gonna make dating so much more clear if you know who you are first. But if you don't know who you are and you're dating to try to figure out who you are, you're not gonna figure out much.
Yeah, and when it comes to the right time, you know, think of it like this, where maturity is not age specific. It's not like you turn 25 and all of a sudden now you're mature. No, it's a growth process. It's when you decide to learn from either your mistakes or from your surroundings, and you make decisions based off of what you have learned. As long as you feel that you can go into a relationship and not jeopardize your integrity, or feel like you're satisfying a craving, or you feel lonely, so now I want to be with somebody. As long as you're not making those mistakes, I think you can really you can date in a healthy way. My best friend is my dream girl, but doesn't see me that way.
Are you sure?
Should I date and try to move on?
Being honest, having honest conversation is really, really important first. Before you decide, okay, I'm just going to date and move on. And you need to make sure that your intention of dating and moving on isn't to like show her something. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I feel like a lot of people, especially like when they're getting out of a relationship, they have the whole like rebound mentality. Oh, well, I want to show that I'm a hot commodity and they missed out. And so I just want to make sure that we get always back to like the heart of why you're dating and moving on, or making sure that you're healed from like recognizing, okay, maybe this one isn't going to work out. So I'm going to take the time to heal and be okay with that and bring that up with God and talk to him about it. And then I'm going to decide from a healthy place to move on and date other people.
Yeah. And I think it's just kind of like you said, should I date and try to move on? I think it should be flipped, which is you should try to move on and then you should try to date.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to say is I hope this doesn't sound harsh. Whenever you mention that this person's your dream girl and they don't want to be with you, that's not your dream girl.
Yeah.
Like she may have characteristics that you really value or you think are attractive, but your dream girl is someone who admires you and wants to be with you and wants to be your best friend and wants to like start a life with you and grow with you. And so I don't mean that in a hard way at all.
No.
But like I think it's easy for us to set like, okay, here's what I want in a relationship. And then this person has all those things, but they don't want me. And like, no, they should want you. They should want to be with you.
That should be up there.
Yeah, it should be near the top. So we're probably going to do a whole video on like first dates, tips and tricks, and also conversation starters. Yeah. But we can probably answer just a little bit. How do you start up a conversation with a guy you want to? Okay, I got an idea. You drive to his house. You put on some super inspirational Christian music, jack it all the way up, turn the car off, knock on the front door and say, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?"
Don't do that. Where did that come from?
How do you start a conversation?
Oh my goodness. How do you start a conversation? I think it depends on the setting that you're in. Like, are you friends of friends? Like, do you have a friend group? Are you meeting like out and about? I feel like context is so important here, but genuinely asking how they are, how their week has been, how's their day been, like trying to get to know them and who they are, and like asking questions that lets them know that you're trying to like see them. Does that make sense? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that whenever you have ulterior motives, it makes what you're doing a lot more awkward and a lot more like, oh, what do I do? I'm anxious about this now. And it's just like, because you want the conversation to be the vehicle that gets you to date. And so, but the end goal is dating. Well, imagine that your goal is to have a healthy conversation with this person and to have a fun conversation. Then the conversation is the vehicle towards the goal, which is also to have a healthy conversation. Yeah. And so when you take some expectations off of that, oh, this conversation needs to lead to me dating that person, but you're just open to just getting to know the person, it takes so much pressure off. Yeah. And so when you go to start up a conversation, you're not putting so much pressure where you're overthinking it, and you can actually just talk to them freely. Yeah. You can say, hey, I heard you did this weekend. How was that? Or how's school going? Or you know what I mean? Like just start the conversation and inquire about their life, like what Tori was saying.
Like it should never be the goal as dating. The goal is to get to know this person's heart to see if you even want to date them.
Hearthstone here.
You know what I mean? Because you might start having a conversation and be like, oh, I actually don't want to date you. That's on the other side of the coin.
Next question. How long should you be in a relationship before considering marriage? 3 weeks. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I feel like that one's hard to answer because you need to know the context. Like if you're in high school, I obviously wouldn't put a time limit on like how long you need to date. And I have great friends who met in high school and ended up dating all through high school, all through college, and got married after college. So of course they dated for like 8 years. But then of course we only dated for like 8 months. You know what I mean? But we were in a different stage of our life, different maturity levels.
So we'd also been friends for so long too.
We've been friends for years. But I mean, I also know people who weren't, Nicole and Nico, they weren't like friends first, but they dated, for around 8 months and they got married a couple months after that. I think it's all about context, maturity.
To answer a question on another level, which is how long should you be in a relationship before considering marriage? I think you should always be considering marriage.
Yes.
I think you should always have you shouldn't just date for fun, because it may sound like fun where, oh, no pressure, let's just see what happens, but that person's heart's at stake.
Yes.
You may get them really attached and involved and start making really great memories of that person. Then you decide one day, oh, I don't care about that person, I don't want to be with them. Now they're heartbroken, and now they're going to inflict pain on other relationships because of the baggage that you left them with. You need to also seek to guard other people's hearts too, at the same time you guard your own. So you should always be considering marriage, but when you go to take that step is a whole different story, and that requires the variables of your context.
Date responsibly, people.
Is missionary dating a red flag?
Yes.
Yes. Me and this guy both like each other and get along well, but he doesn't believe in God. I don't know what to do.
I know what to do.
What's that?